Well, if you insist. Look, when one of the creators of your top hyperfixation at the moment tells you to yap about your favorite character, you have to do it! I really wasn't planning on making another rant video, but golly gosh, Nort's just twisting my arm here. Boris the Wolf is one of the protagonists of Myth, a rewrite of Quest for the Ink Machine, and let me tell you, I fell in love with him the moment I saw his character sheet. Yes, all the way back when Fly posted them to TikTok and the series wasn't even an Ask blog yet. But as I said in my last video, go check that out if you haven't, by the way, the art is only a small part of why I like the character so much. The story is what really sold me on him. Here is your one and only warning for spoilers, by the way. Let's go! Off the get-go, one of the biggest changes they made for Boris is his age. In Quest, he was 12, but for Myth, he is, and in his own words, a grown man. 27 years old to be exact. Despite this fact, however, they still like to keep aspects of what little his character had in its preceding comic. Quest Boris is put through a lot, and his naivety tends to get the better of him. He's an excitable child who feels empathy for those who've wronged him, and he thinks he's way more mature than he actually is. And it's that childlike empathy and sense of morality that we get to see on full display for Myth Boris. This wolf is described to be much edgier. He's quiet, shy, and extremely protective of his adopted brother. With Bendy having the blot, he has become obsessed with finding a way to cure him, that leading him to do heavy research on the myth of the machine. It seems as though Boris has always been incredibly caring for Bendy, protecting him from danger both as kids and all the way up into adulthood. He even risks himself for Bendy, putting his life on the line all in the name of making sure that his brother lives, whether that means stealing from his idol or fighting bounty hunters way out of his league. He will get battered and bruised, but if it means he can save his brother, he will say it was all worth it. Though, just because he's desperate doesn't entirely mean he's naive. He still questions the legitimacy of the map. After all, another big change from Quest is the fact that Boris isn't capable of seeing it. He finds the whole thing hard to believe and questions the information given to them by Felix. After all, he's been researching the myth ever since Bendy started showing symptoms of having the blot and doesn't find the stars to be trustworthy. This is also just an assumption on my part, but I believe he's frustrated with the fact that Bendy's the only one who could see it. After all, the last thing he wants is for his brother to get hurt or die, and this mission will put them at risk. If he could see it, then Bendy wouldn't have to come along, and he could do it on his own. I just think it's a clever change on Nort and Fly's part to ensure that Boris and Bendy are incredibly needed on this journey. Overall, Boris is an incredibly caring individual, and one thing that we learn is that it doesn't just extend out to Bendy, but all life. In his own words, no one deserves to die. Boris's morals get a lot of focus in Chapter 1, and I believe that they will continue to be called into question throughout the course of this story, especially with the inclusion of Cuphead's death. I did wonder about Boris's philosophy when it was first shown to us. After all, he mentions that nobody deserves to die because everyone is capable of change, but then he singles out killers, describing them as people who are incapable of change with permanent marks on their souls. Did that mean that he thinks killers deserve to die? I'm not too sure he does. Cuphead and Mugman are described to be ruthless hitmen for hire, and despite learning this, he is visibly distraught after playing a small part in Cuphead's death, even though he's not the one to pull the trigger. Now, we could pass this off as him just reasonably reacting to a manslaughter. However, when Bendy announces that he believes the two deserve death, Boris gets angry and yells at Bendy. Furthermore, in his later interaction with Mugman during his D-Reality episode, he tells the porcelain that he doesn't want to hurt him, and proves his words to be true as he doesn't attack once despite having many opportunities to do so, and finally, saves Mugman before one of the searchers can finish him off. No, we do also know that he doesn't trust Felix, so this could mean that he believes that the Cup brothers aren't actually murderers, especially considering Mugman saved Bendy, so I could be wrong about this point entirely, or it could just simply be another complexity to Boris's character. Either way, in a world without morality, he refuses to sacrifice his own, and while I adore this part about this character, being so stubborn about this isn't entirely a good thing. After all, Boris has three, very conflicting motivations: keeping Bendy safe, finding the machine, and sticking true to his morals. Mugman calls him out on this during their aforementioned interaction, and it really made me think despite Boris not giving a proper answer. After all, you'd think that keeping Bendy safe and finding the machine would go hand in hand, but you would be wrong. Going after the machine is an inherently dangerous thing that they're doing, that being clear based off of what has happened to them so far. It is because of this map that they have a target on their backs, ergo, not really keeping Bendy safe. As for keeping his morals intact, that's also going to be very difficult as evidence from Cuphead's game. time. There may be and has been times where he's forced to have no other choice if he wants to protect his family. Once again, conflicting motivations. Yes, Cuphead gave him a decision. Yes, he was able to talk his way out of that situation. However, it is not going to be like that every single time. They live in a world without morality. Boris is one of the very few that keeps true to his. I'm hard-pressed to believe that there isn't a person out there who's going to test Boris's morals later down the line, and they will test them much harsher than Cuphead and Mugman will. Maybe they won't even give him a decision, though that is just speculation on my part. My point is, I adore how complex these characters are. No one is one-dimensional, and especially not Boris. I feel as though he's a very easy character to overlook, focus on one thing and one thing alone, and while sure, it does take up a majority of his character, it's clear that Nort and Fly have so much planned for him. He is smart, resourceful, lazy at times, sure, and oh my god, I am not going to forget the implications of this frame, you two. What the fuck do you mean, wrong answer? I can smell the foreshadowing reeking off of this page! I'm sorry about that. Okay, one last detail that I'd like to point out that isn't super important but I really enjoy is Boris's answer to this question.
Boris, my handsome wolf, how are you? Anything I can say to see you smile?
Thanks for the compliment, but I'm fine, really. The only thing that will make me smile is if Bendy starts taking this mission seriously.
After rereading every post that had Boris in it for this video, I realized that this dude does not smile unless it has to do with his brother. The only few times that he has smiled in this comic was when Bendy was taking things seriously or when he finds him safe. You can count on one hand the amount of times Boris has smiled, and you wouldn't even need to use all your fingers. He's not even smiling on the banner or PFP! And yes, the first time he smiles in the comic is when Bendy is begging Boris to believe him, and he can see just how serious he is about this mission. It is such a neat little detail, and I'm so excited to learn more little details about him. Nort and Fly will often answer questions about the characters on their Tumblrs too, and we get to learn a bunch of fun little facts about them. Just small little facts like how he built the house that him and Bendy lives in, and the fact that he's a romantic. Also things like he's a big eater, and that he likes superheroes, and that he knows the clarinet, and that apparently there was a scrap plot point of Boris being alluded to having resorted to cannibalism at one point, but we're not gonna talk about that! Look at this stupid picture of baby Boris! Isn't it so cute? All in all, I just love this character so much. He is my absolute favorite, no matter how hard he is to draw. I swear to God, he looks different in every single drawing that I do of him. But despite the difficulty in drawing him, man, do I love his design. I just like looking at him, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. Thank you once more to Nort and Fly for putting so much thought and care into these characters. You have really done all of them justice. Go check out Myth of the Machine on Tumblr, as well as their own individual Tumblrs and their Patreon. Please, please, please go support them. Also, big shout out to Kix for being my Boris VA for this video. Say hi, Kix.
Hi guys!
Go check out her TikTok and YouTube too. Thank you guys for watching, and let me know if you want me to rant about another myth character, because, you know, these are kind of fun to make. That being said, good morning, evening, afternoon, or whatever time it is for you, and I will see you when I see you. Bye!